We usually think of our digital world as this amazing space for connection and information. But what happens if we put on a different hat? What if we look at it like an economist? As a marketplace where the most valuable thing isn't money, but something you give away all day, every day, your attention. Let's really dig into that.
This quote, wow, it's from a former French TV executive, and it's just brutally honest, isn't it? It perfectly nails the business model we're going to unpack. Now, sure, he was talking about television, but that same exact idea is what's now powering pretty much our entire digital world.
Okay, so let's start with the big foundational idea here. We are absolutely drowning in information, right? There's endless content. So what's the one thing that's actually rare? Well, it's your attention. And just like any other scarce resource, it's become incredibly valuable. It's basically become a new kind of currency.
And look, this isn't just some cool metaphor. It's a real field of study. Attention economics literally applies the same rules we use for things like oil or gold to your focus. It gets that you only have so much attention you can spend in a day, and that simple fact creates a huge competitive market for it.
You might think this is a new idea, something that came out of the recent tech backlash. But no way. This was predicted by a Nobel Prize-winning economist, Herbert Simon, all the way back in 1971. Can you believe that? He saw that the real problem of the future wouldn't be getting information, but the bottleneck of our own minds, our limited ability to actually process it all. So, if attention is this scarce, valuable resource, you know what happens next, right? It was only a matter of time before a whole business model popped up to mine it, package it, and sell it. So let's take a look at how that actually works.
I bet you've heard this saying before, and honestly, it is the absolute key to understanding this entire system. It all starts with a very simple question about all those free apps we use every day. And there it is. That's the twist. Companies like Facebook or Google aren't really in the business of selling you cool software. They're in the business of selling you. Or to be more precise, they sell your attention and the ability to influence what you do next to advertisers.
So here's how the game is played. It's pretty much a four-step process. First, they watch everything you do, every like, every click, every single pause on a video. Then, they take all that data and build a model of you that can predict your behavior. And here's the kicker. They sell that predictive power as certainty to advertisers. And of course, the more you scroll and engage, the more data they get, the better their predictions become, and the more money they make. It's a feedback loop.
So, how do they make sure this business model keeps running? Well, these companies can't just cross the fingers and hope you'll pay attention. Oh no. They have to engineer it. They use psychology and behavioral science to make their platforms as addictive and irresistible as possible. You have to understand, these aren't bugs, they are features. They're designed specifically to keep you hooked. Infinite scroll gets rid of any natural reason to stop. You just keep going. Personalized algorithms? Well, they're like little dopamine slot machines, feeding you the exact content that gives your brain a little jolt of pleasure. Autoplay makes it easier to just keep watching than it is to actually stop. And variable rewards, like not knowing how many likes your next post will get, it hijacks the same part of your brain as a slot machine, keeping you compulsively checking back for more.
And what's the real cost of all these interruptions? What's the price we pay? Well, according to researchers at UC Irvine, this is how long it takes, on average, to get your focus back on track after just one single digital distraction. 23 minutes. Now, just think about how many times that happens to you in a single day. That is a massive, massive tax on our ability to get anything done.
In economics, there's this concept called a negative externality. It's when a deal between two people creates a cost for someone else, a third party who had nothing to do with it. The classic example is a factory that pollutes the air. The factory and its customers get what they want, but all of society has to pay the price for that dirty air. Well, the attention economy is absolutely full of these hidden costs. Right? So just like the cost of that pollution isn't included in the price of a product, the huge societal costs of the attention economy aren't reflected in the price of a free app. So let's start naming some of this new kind of pollution. First up, information pollution. The algorithms are built to maximize engagement, right? And what gets the most engagement? Outrage, sensationalism. Emotionally charged content always gets more clicks than quiet nuance. And because of that, these platforms have become super spreaders for misinformation and conspiracy theories.
Second, there's social pollution. The business model is designed to reward really brief, shallow interactions, like a like or a quick share, instead of deep, meaningful connection. Over time, this can wear down our empathy and push us to perform a curated version of our lives instead of building a real community.
And third, mental pollution. A business model that is literally engineered for addiction has, maybe not so surprisingly, been linked to a rise in anxiety, depression, and stress. Think about it. The system works best when we feel insecure, when we need that next little hit of validation. It's designed to profit directly from that cycle.
And finally, there's political pollution. When the power to micro-target people and influence their behavior is sold to the highest bidder, you can bet that political actors are going to be first in line. This marketplace distorts our public conversations, it fuels polarization, and it seriously undermines the very foundations of democracy.
So when you start to add up all of these externalities, this pollution of our information, our relationships, our minds, and our politics, we have to circle back to that fundamental economic question.
Because at the end of the day, free is never actually free, is it? The price tag is just hidden from view. So the question we really have to ask ourselves is, beyond just our time and our focus, what are the true costs of these services? What are we as individuals and as a whole society really truly paying with?